Okay, so this is the same data set that we were looking at in the previous video. This one is just the version that's been gone through to make sure that all of the cells are complete, that all of the bedrooms and bathroom counts are filled out, that all of the correct units of measurement are used on the lot sizes. And where we left off on the last video was the miscellaneous exterior. And what I did was I changed that miscellaneous exterior column into a workshop column and changed all of those into zeros and ones based on whether the house had a workshop or did not have a workshop. So again, if there was no workshop, I put a 0. If it had a workshop, I put a 1. And with this data set, there was 20 houses. I went through all 20 just to make sure that we had each house that had a workshop was represented as having one. I then went back and made an additional column, workshop with square footage, and went through the houses that had workshops and found out what square footage the workshop was on those houses. So each one of those has the square footage on it as well. There's the age that we set up, and then this is an additional column that I also added in there, and this is part of what we feel like makes the Virtual Valuation Assistant truly special in comparison to some of the AVMs that are out there. The level of customization that you can do to your data set with regards to things like workshops and quality condition upgrades. With this one in this neighborhood, the homes were mostly new. Most of them are 10 years or newer. But there was a little bit of a difference in some of the quality of the homes. So I went through them and rated them on a scale of 0 to 1. 0 was a very basic, didn't really have a whole lot in the way of upgrades or updates. And 1 was a house that did have some updates, or upgrades rather, maybe granite countertops or hardwood floors or something to that effect. I went ahead and used a 0.5 if it were somewhere in between. But this is one that really, we highly encourage when you get this to try it out, test it out, run the numbers on a bunch of different sets, and really practice with it to get kind of an idea on how this works and what kind of scale you want to use. Because once you get that, what I typically use is 0 to 1 and then do it just like that. And then if I had one that was maybe over the top, everything was completely done all the way to the best quality you can find, I might even put it in there as a 2, which would kind of be indicating that the 2 is 2 times as updated or as upgraded as the homes that are indicated to be a 1. So now that I've got to this point where everything's filled out, everything is exactly how I want it with the numbers, I want to go through these columns and I want to trim it back because I'm going to upload this into the VVA program shortly. But we don't need, I'm not going to need necessarily this many predictors to use to run through the numbers. So the first thing I'm going to do with our hypothetical home here that we're doing this for to try to get a value on, we're going to say that it does not have a basement or an in-ground pool. And this is one comp right here that had both a basement and it also had an in-ground pool. And because of that, I'm going to go ahead and just remove this comp completely from the data set because I don't want those items to throw it off any. With only one house with those items, it doesn't give the program a whole lot to compare against. So I don't want there to be any, I don't want that to affect my outcome any. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the 1. Of course, if my home or my subject did have a pool, or if it did have a basement and I was going to run it looking at basement and above ground GLA rather than just total GLA, then I would probably widen my search to try to find more homes that had that amenity, because the more information that the program has to run and compare, the better the outcome is going to be. But in this case and for this example, we're going to go ahead and just remove this one completely. So that one's gone. And now I'm going to go through each column and just see if we even need to keep the columns. Since I just took that one out and our subject doesn't have a basement, we've got all zeros in these 2 columns. So I'm going to go ahead and delete both of these because those won't be necessary to be used as predictors. Bedrooms, obviously we're going to want to leave that one. Bathrooms, this is one I have it set up where you have, this is the total bathroom count, and then I've got the full bathroom and half bathroom count. And there are some homes over there that have half baths, and the trick is when you do upload it, you just don't run these 2 together. And I'll talk about more on that in one of the future videos on one of the next steps. So I'm going to go ahead and leave both of those for now. The garages, we're going to go ahead and leave. Carports, that's something that none of the homes over there had, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Acreage, I'm going to leave that so we have it as an option once it's uploaded. Fireplaces, I'll leave that one as an option as well. Square footage, lot size, we'll leave that. Sprinkler details is fine. Pools is another one. We got all zeros. Subject doesn't have a pool, so we're going to go ahead and delete that out. Year built, we don't need that. We've already set up our age column, so that's all we're going to need for that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete out that year built column. Workshops, these are the ones that I just set up, so we'll be able to run it two different ways, and again I'll show you that in a future video what I mean by that. We got our age and we got our quality and upgrades. So now what we want to do is go ahead and save this CSV file, and we recommend using the address of the subject, or maybe the zone or the area that you're looking at, and whatever date you prepared this information. Obviously this is this can be time consuming depending on how deeply you go into researching all these numbers and double checking and adding things like quality and upgrades. So if it's something that you're going to want to come back to later, you want to know how fresh that data is and when you did that. One last thing that we're going to want to do to this data set is going to be to delete any outliers that also might skew the data. So just looking at the 19 sales that we have, or the 18 sales that we have available to us, the two that stand out that kind of look like a little bit of outliers, sold a little bit under what most of these homes over there were selling for, is this number 16. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this one, and also number 8 right here was also quite a bit lower than everything else over there. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that one as well before saving.